What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
We hope you're fired up and energized for an incredible episode of Motivation Monday because we are absolutely pumped up and ready just to spit some fire, answer some phenomenal questions, share some quotes. Really exciting announcement as well. We've switched hosts. So if you can notice, if you're on Spotify, you can see our video. On Apple, they don't allow this just yet. On Spotify, we're also playing with polls. So there'll be a poll down below in this episode. So there's a fun opportunity to get more engagement. Always exciting. And we're just looking to grow any which way we can. And if you want to help us grow, and very often we'll get messages saying, hey, I love this podcast. I've listened to so much. What can I do to give back? The easiest, most simple thing to do is share it with a friend, share it to your Instagram, share it to your MySpace, share it, just put it around your neighborhood, print off some flyers and shout it out. But whatever you can do to share it with anyone, even if just telling someone who would enjoy it, it really does go a long way. And we work hard to produce great content, and word of mouth is so powerful. So anyone who shares the story, we always share some love to reshare that. And if you want to tag us in an episode you love and share it to your story, it's at ColossusFit, ColossusFit. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into our primary question, which is, if you had 8 weeks before going on an island vacation, what would you do daily regarding diet and exercise to look the best that you could possibly look in that short amount of a time?
So this is a fantastic question. And honestly, we get asked this in different variations, right? Whether it's a wedding, an island vacation, which sounds fantastic. And sometimes it's maybe a bachelorette weekend, whatever the case is, we get this a lot. And the truth is that the main thing I want to start off by saying is that I would just fully commit. I know it's not exactly like the question here because obviously it's about diet and exercise, but I've seen it over and over again, especially for myself. I've made this mistake. I'd say probably within my years of dieting, there's been a few of them that I can remember that I didn't fully commit. And then the time goes by and it's just like, I've got to make up for it, right? I've got to kind of pay for the sins of yesterday, I guess you could say. So I see this very often where some people think they have more time than they actually have. They'll let it go by. They don't really realize, because 8 weeks does sound like a good amount of time, and it kind of is depending on how you look at it. So I would just go all in, like not just 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I would fully commit, and I would just be so diligent on hitting my macros and my calories and just not give in to all the extra temptations out there. And even myself recently, I've been trying to just be a lot better with that. I don't have any special event or whatever, but I just want to get rid of this stubborn belly fat. I just want to be able to be more confident and be happy with where I'm at. So although there's a lot of things around me, I'm just like, you know what? I don't need it. I've had it a million times before. I'm good. And it's been helping me a lot, not I guess giving into that. And so if you just fully dial in with your calories, your macros, your protein, and overall just like really keep track of that accurately, you could lose over 20 pounds depending on how much you have to lose and be a completely different person. But there's going to be some people who just exercise till they're black and blue. They do tons of cardio, and that stuff will be good at helping you burn more calories. But if you just go all in on your nutrition, that'll make such a big difference. And you have to make sure that you're in a calorie deficit that's big enough to get you where you want to be, right? So if you're losing half a pound per week, that's not going to get you to where you want to be for the most part, depending on how much you have to lose. If you're in the 1 to 3 pound per week mark, once again, it can probably get you there. I say probably because if you have 20 something pounds to lose, absolutely 3 pounds per week will be fantastic. If you just have 5 to 10 pounds, 1 to 1.5 will be solid for you. But that's my biggest tip. I'm sure Josh has a ton though to talk about for this question.
Yeah, I love Kyle's point about locking in. Even I mentioned how I was in a maintenance phase, obviously, as I'm recovering with my shoulder. But in this maintenance phase, I've been lifting less intense. I lift very, very crazy, eating the same amount of calories because I didn't want to lose any muscle. But at that point, I'm up maybe 1.5 pounds just from the difference of the two. And I'm like, hey, this week I'm going to do a mini cut, and I want this mini cut, but I clearly didn't want it bad enough, and I'm not perfect. And yesterday I slipped up. We went to a restaurant I really enjoyed. It's one of my favorites, and at that restaurant I didn't pre-log, which is something I always make a point to do at restaurants, because if you pre-log your food and your nutrition, you know exactly what you can eat, like a map. You can enjoy it guilt-free. And yesterday I thought I was good, I was in my numbers, and I totaled it up, and I'm like, oh shoot, I was over maybe 400 or 500 calories, which is quite substantial. And even someone who's a seasoned veteran, I still made a mistake. But the reality is I didn't want it enough to do that pre-logging. And that's where you got to be real with yourself. If you're serious and you really want to look good, it can't just be a wish. You need to be strong even in those moments where it's not easy to be strong, because it's very easy to adhere when you're prepping all your food, you're having it home, you have all your protein snacks, your veggies, you're going to bed on time, you have all day to go to the gym. Like, that's easy mode. What's hard is when you're at dinners, when you're out with friends, the weekends come and you're bored. So you need to be stronger than your excuses in those moments, and you need to hold that goal above the short-term joy of like, oh, I'm going to do this extra thing, or in my case, I'm going to have another taco, or I'm going to have a few more nacho chips and guac. So that's where in those moments, like Kyle said, you can't be half in. And I think most people become most discouraged in cuts because they'll just be like, I'm half in. I know even Kyle was doing a cut. He said, I'm chilling. And like with cuts, what's so hard is you're either in a cut or you're not in a cut. And cutting is tough because it's putting you in like a deficit, and in a deficit a lot of the time that requires you to be a little bit hungry at the end of the day. That requires you to say no to some of your favorite things. That requires you to make more choices that you wouldn't necessarily need to make if you're maintaining or bulking. So it is such a pivot mentally, but like Kyle said, if you can lock in, 8 weeks is a great period of time. Usually I'll extend cutting phases because I know things happen. Like, we'll allow for unload weeks, we'll allow for diet breaks, we'll really kind of prep in some time for potential variances like events and whatnot, because they can undo a lot of progress by being in a big surplus. So I just wanted to talk on that note because Kyle really hit that on the head. And when you eliminate those excuses, to Kyle's point, and you're aware, as we've done in the past, on how many calories you need to be eating, how to put yourself in a deficit, really learning how your macronutrients work and setting your protein, fats, and carbs in a way that is guaranteeing fat loss, it can become very linear. And the biggest thing that we'll take away from that is the emotional components. And like I said, by me not pre-logging, I've took myself out of that scientific approach of calculating exactly how much I need to lose and making it very linear. And then what will happen is people have a bad day like that, and they'll try and make up for it today by eating less, and then they'll be more hungry the next day, and then they'll go out and they'll have more. And it becomes this really tough cycle. And within our coaching, that's where we manage the psychology almost more than anything, because the psychology of it is so much. And then there's other factors that can support it and make it easier, like the 80-20 rule and whatnot. But case in point, nutrition is so important. This is the biggest thing, as Kyle said, especially if you want to look like beach ready, you want to look lean, you want to look good. Some other higher level tips I would give would be to actually pull out of your deficit into the last week going into the vacation. And you'd say, hey, this is counterintuitive. And sometimes I'll do this with clients a week before, some days 4 days before, but your muscles are full of water, they're full of glycogen, they're full of things that will cause them to look more swollen and big. And when you deprive that and you're in a deficit and you have less sodium, you'll actually notice less of a pump. You'll look a lot flatter and you won't look as good, and you can just look really skinny. Whereas a nice full muscle always looks better. So if you're able to pump more glycogen in by bringing up your carbs intelligently before a vacation, you're able to have a little bit more salt, you're able to start to pull out of that deficit, you'll actually notice you'll look bigger and leaner than you do if you're actually still in that cut. So this is where you can kind of play with things to look a little artificially nicer on that trip and to balance for that trip. So that's where you may want to explore only cutting for like 7.5 weeks and utilizing that tip. Training wise, you want to continue to train hard. You could push it a bit more within what's sustainable. And you're welcome to implement cardio. Cardio is another tool you can use to push yourself into a deficit, or you can take that from food. So you have a little bit of play in what you want to do. To me, I'm always hesitant, like when I program with clients for these situations, I'll focus more on the nutrition because it's easy to say, just do 30 minutes of cardio a day, but not everyone has time or ability to do that in a busy schedule. And also it can be a little grueling if you're in the gym and you're doing that. So I don't like just throwing a ton on someone's plate. Instead, I prefer just take a little bit off of it, and obviously doing that intelligently, helping them optimize for more food with their protein and in a way where they're not starving or struggling in any which way, but really just helping them lock in. So that was a fantastic question. Those are a few more tips from me. What else do you have, Kyle?
Just absolutely essential to be strength training, because I see a lot of people, they want to look better for a photo shoot, a specific event, whatever day it is. And then they don't really do much. Like they'll kind of do a few classes, they'll do some runs, and like they will do okay with nutrition, but then their muscles just aren't popping the way they want it to. They don't look kind of tightened and toned and all that other stuff. So that's where I think a lot of people go wrong, and especially with the cardio bunnies out there. And that's why we encourage like 3 to 5 solid periodized strength training sessions per week. And with that also, you have to make sure that you can reverse engineer your goals. And that's something we do with our clients, is when we know what they have in terms of special events, we'll be able to say, hey, okay, so let's say 2 to 3 months from now, this is where we need to be. We'll maybe get some old photos of where they've been at, or just like what their numbers are that they want to hit. And we can kind of get a good estimate. And from there, we can scale things back in terms of like, okay, here's where we need to start to get you towards your end goal. A lot of times people will just be like, hey, I want to cut, but then there's not as much like information to be able to properly get you there because we're not fully sure. And that's where having a coach obviously comes in handy. And even like one of the biggest things I think people go wrong with for stuff like this is they don't have those changes they can make like consistently. So they'll kind of just commit to, hey, using a calculator. I know we talked about this recently, and they'll be like, all right, if I do this for the next 8 weeks, I should be good. But they don't realize how much their body will change. Even your metabolism, like it'll start to work differently as you lose body fat, and your needs in terms of calorie goals and stuff will change as the cut goes on. So some people will just hit a plateau and they just won't know exactly what to do. And with that, last thing here, I spent some time looking at when summer actually is. Obviously here we're in Florida, it's absolutely beautiful. But the thing most people don't realize is that it's going to come by a lot quicker. It's just over 100 days, which is just over 3 months. And for most people to get summer ready, to get ready for everything they have going on, you do need at least 12 weeks to be in a solid cut if you're looking to lose over 20 pounds and do it sustainably. And like Josh said, like we do have to factor in those up and down weeks and those challenge weeks because there always will be something, especially as we're all human. And we're looking to take on a few people who are looking to get summer ready. As we always say, summer bodies are made in the winter. And if you want to be able to look your best, be confident in whatever you wear, whether it's a bathing suit, a bikini, some sort of dress. Message us now because we're going to do an early bird promo for committers. So we want to give you a discount if you're ready to take action and ready to invest in yourself. So message us summer ready to our Instagram at ColossusFit, ColossusFit. And we can't wait to help you get ready for that special event, that vacation, or whatever else you have looking forward to.
Yeah, and make it real. I mean, it was funny, even when I was getting married, everyone told me they were going to get in shape for the wedding and it was motivating them, whatever. And like 9 out of 10 people, I feel like, didn't see as much change. Like I know a lot of people actually did see a lot of change. So shout out to those of you that did. But it's just easy to be like, I'm going to have abs for my vacation. Then it comes, you're like, what happened? And like, I got busy. So having accountability, having support, making it real and investing in yourself is the best way. And like we said, we do this all day, every day. So we're going to guarantee you get there. It's going to make it way more real. You'll enjoy it way more. And most importantly too, you won't just see success up to that event. We'll teach you how to transition out of it. We'll teach you how to still see success on vacation without ruining the vacation. And we like to meet our clients where they're at. We have some clients, like I like training. To me, training is my time. I enjoy it. I train on vacation. I still like to track my food because I don't like to have to do a lot of work either. I have some clients say I don't want to be near a gym on vacation, but I'm down to walk the beach every morning. I'm going to do some activity each day or an event. I don't want to track my food. And we can work within that. I can still give guidelines. I have some that say I'm down to track my food, but let's put me in a maintenance. So I'm not gaining crazy weight, but I don't want to be in some crazy deficit here either. So having accountability and having support with someone who knows what they're doing is so instrumental because you'll see that success and you're not just going to lose a bunch of weight, blow it all back up on a vacation, end up feeling worse than you were. So all this goes such a long way, and we'd love to support you with that. And summer is coming up. Like it's pretty crazy that we're into March now. So like it really is sneaking up on us. So maybe if you feel you got a little fluffy over the winter, this applies to you too. We'd love to help you shred out and really build an incredible physique for that. So we look forward to supporting you with that. So now we're going to go ahead, jump into our quotes. So if you're new around here, we like share our quotes because they fire us up. I really like taking the time to think and find one that I find really moving for me and something that really challenges my mindset, so it hopefully challenges yours. And I think mine is pretty fitting. So my quote is from Robert Collier, and his success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. And I spoke on this previously, but success comes down to these small things you do over time. It doesn't come down for me like having a crazy workout where I'm puking and bleeding on the floor or anything like that. It comes down for me going 5 days a week consistently. And I've been doing that 10 plus years. And that's how I built my physique. I could never attribute it to one lift I've done or one big workout or one healthy meal I had. So really reworking your mindset from like these big, massive actions to how can I win the small stuff each and every day? And it's even funny. My wife mentioned, she said like the guests we'll have up for Florida are all like people that are in fitness. And we notice they all go on daily walks. They're all looking for protein meals, the things that are being bought. Like it's funny when these things become habitual, you see success for it. Whereas with alternative lifestyles, like if you never go on a walk, you don't do any activity, you get home, you flip on the TV and grab a beer immediately, then you DoorDash. Like you can see how habits can either push you towards a goal or pull you away from a goal. So I think it's constantly important that you're analyzing your habits and saying, is this benefit? Me and Kyle catch ourselves all the time, or we'll like start doing something and we'll be like, oh, this could become a bad habit. We got to stop. Like it's too tempting. And like really being able to identify that and making sure you're doing these small things well, it leads to massive explosive growth. And that's the entire component of like the compound effect and whatnot. So I think it's a great reminder to really reframe and say like, am I winning those small battles and leading that to some major success?
I think a lot of people just get discouraged because they're focusing on trying to hit those home runs, like those big hits, right? Whereas like you get on first base, you get into second and you just keep moving along, and that's what's going to get you those results. That's what's going to get you to, cross home plate. And even Josh recently, he was saying small wins daily, like within his shoulder rehab. And even just like, it's been cool to see him like go from like, not being able to bench and then add on 35 on each side and just like hit those small wins. Whereas like, it's easy to just be like, I need to be able to do everything right now. And I think that's something that's so overlooked. So those small wins, those small habits, that's what makes the difference between success and not succeeding, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and even to jump in there, I actually had a note about this too, saying that once you do these small things often, it becomes easy, it becomes a habit. And it's funny, even listening to these motivational videos, to say everyone wants to, like in our mind, it's easy to see yourself like, oh, tonight I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to eat a healthy meal, I'm going to get to bed. And then the night comes, you're like, oh, I'm tired. Like not tonight, tomorrow, I'm going to kick my feet up, whatever. And it's so easy to have that thought of what you need to do, but you actually just need to execute it and make it a habit. Even me, like the shoulder physio is boring. I'm doing these same dinky movements day in, day out, twice a day. But I'm like, I know me doing this consistently will heal me so much faster than if I don't. And then when you make it habit, it's really easy. And perhaps you've been in a flow where you go in the gym a lot, or abs is a great example. If you're doing your abs consistently, it's very easy to keep doing it. Whereas if you keep saying, oh, I'm going to do abs, I'm going to do calves, I'm going to do like those extra cherry on the top movements, cardio, stretching, it's very hard when you just keep wishing to want to do it. Whereas when you're like, I'm going to do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this time after my workout or before bed or whatever, it's way easier to do it consistently. So wishing isn't a strategy. Like the more specific you can be, the more you can hold yourself to doing it for a period of a time. It's amazing how much easier it can be. And this is so simple to overlook. But by identifying this, building these habits and addressing these things, that's where the result comes from.
Very well said. And this quote is pretty dear to my heart. So the other day it was, early morning, and Josh came to me with a motivational video. It's 75 million views. It's about 4 minutes long, and I was a little bit tired. I'm not going to lie. Like when he shared it to me, it came at the perfect time. I'll link it down below. It's incredible. Josh said he listens to it every day, and I'm going to do that as well. I listened to it this morning. But basically at the start, Jocko Willink, who gets up every morning, he's an ex-Navy SEAL. He had said, what's stopping you? Are you too tired? Didn't get enough sleep? Don't have enough energy? Don't have enough time? Is that what's stopping you right now? Or is the thing that's stopping you, you? And I'm have goosebumps right now. Like, it's just, to me, those so well said, because it's so easy to use these things. Like, yeah, we're all going to be tired in different ways, shapes, or forms, but I try to do everything possible, even if it was a bad night of sleep, even if I'm, going through something, if I'm, whatever is going on, like, you still put in that work and it gets done no matter what. And I love that he had said this, because I think a lot of times it is us that's truly holding us back, because we do have the ability to make that decision to put in the work or to not put in the work. And at this specific time, I think it was one of those nights where I was up a little bit more. My newborn was up quite a bit more than usual, and it was harder for me to get back to sleep. But I'm like, hey, I'm still going on my walk. I'm still getting my workout in. I'm still showing up for my clients. I'm still doing everything. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be that person that's going to hold myself back, and I'm still going to do it. So I thought that was well said, and it's very, very motivating, and I'm excited to listen to that every single day. Now, on my thoughts, one small thing is just don't be too good for the basics. I see this happen so often of people who think they're just way past very simple tips. And the truth is, like, and Josh and I were talking about this last week, like, a lot of times these simple reminders can actually help you out. So for example, using a measuring cup, using a food scale, weighing in at the same time every day, consistently, like little things that you may seem like you're too good for or you're past can be incredible reminders. And I think a lot of times people let their ego get in the way. I know this because I've been there as well. And I'd just be like, oh, I know that already. And the second that I started keeping more of an open mind to like different suggestions of like, let's say how to grow the podcast. If someone has something to say, I'm like, okay, like what are your thoughts here? Instead of just being like, oh, I've tried that already and just like instantly writing it off. So I do see a lot of people struggling on their journey because their ego kind of gets in the way and they're like, oh, I already know how to do that. And like maybe even a form video, you're like, I have perfect form. It's like, but what if you send a form video and I can critique it and give you one small tip? You can do it a little bit better. So that's my thought, and hopefully this helps you in some way or another.
Yeah, don't overlook those basics. That's the theme from here. And one other thought I just wanted to share that I thought was cool and perhaps something you'd be intrigued to try out as well. I was just reading a little bit about journaling, and obviously I journal every day. It's something I enjoy doing, but I actually saw that Seneca, his favorite time, the philosopher, to journal was actually in the evening. So he said, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by. And I was like, oh, this is good inspiration. And this is a good reminder for me to actually do this tonight. So I like the concept of a morning journal. But like he said, there's a great opportunity, I think, at night. And even for me, reflecting on the day, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever it is. And I think reflection is one of those things that is too underutilized. But to my point, I can analyze like, hey, this is the importance of pre-logging. This is why you need to pre-log. This is going to help you. You can go back and say, okay, but I had this win. Or you can even look back and say, oh, I sold myself short on this one exercise. Here's how I'm going to improve it. Here's some cool ideas I had for yesterday. But I love this particular thing I did. That was such a great memory. So I think it's a great idea to actually spend some time journaling at night. And I just thought that'd be a fun little add-on to challenge everyone with here. But now we're going to go ahead and jump into our client shout out. So this is someone who is struggling, who is absolutely crushing it now. So who do we have this week, Kyle?
Yeah, this week we have Susan, who's been working with Coach Jason, and she has seen some incredible improvements in just a few short years. She's going to be celebrating her 50th, and it's just been amazing to see her like get so much better in so many different ways. She's actually been with us for about 2 years now in the program, so her results have been incredible, and I love when someone just fully commits. Similar to my biggest tip earlier, is just like go all in. And there's just been so many different improvements. Her strength is better. Her form is so much better. So we always like to celebrate a couple different wins. The first one is going to be a strength related one, and that's being met. She's just getting so much stronger and she's just a better person from that. Obviously, the scale related wins are huge. It's nothing better than seeing the scale go down and see improvements there. But even just past that, the body composition, which is actually probably the biggest win from Susan. And that's where I think a lot of people struggle, is like they'll only focus on maybe one of these things. We try to incorporate everything into the program. So she's just went on a vacation recently. She was beach ready and she made it happen no matter what. She's seen a lot of improvements, like I said, and you do have what it takes, no matter what your age is, no matter, how busy your job is, no matter how many kids you have. We fit this entire journey into your lifestyle and we can guarantee results. And we're so proud of Susan. And like I said before, summer ready, just message us if you're ready to get on board and get a discounted rate because you're an action taker and you want to get started early. Message us with that keyword to Instagram at ColossusFit, ColossusFit. And I can't wait to hear from some of you. And awesome work, Coach Jason and Susan.
All right. For our next question out of the mailbag, we have, what are some good high protein breakfast options? I've just been having eggs with egg whites lately and I'm looking for better options. And it's funny this is asked because I actually was just talking about this with a client who said they're sick of having so many eggs. So I know Kyle has some phenomenal suggestions here, so I'll pass this one over to him.
So I'm going to start with the simple ones of the things that we've personally used for the last few years. We've talked about it a ton. We call it a Greek yogurt power bowl, which is just simply plain Greek yogurt, tons of different berry variations, so strawberry. And what's cool is, and this is how I don't get bored of it, is you can switch it up, right? I don't get bored of foods a whole lot. I can have the same stuff, but if you are someone, like, you can just change one small thing. So with this, we bought kiwi recently, which has been cool. Josh had a banana today. Usually strawberries and blueberries are a staple. So these are pretty low calorie-ish fruits and they have tons of benefits. So plain Greek yogurt, a couple seeds as well, chia seeds, hemp hearts, if you can fit that in. And then even just a bit of honey, like maybe 20 to 60 calories, depending on the honey you get, has been an amazing add-on as well. And to me, that's just the greatest breakfast in the world. I don't think about it. It takes me 2 to 3 minutes per day to weigh out and do. So that's going to be the first thing. Oatmeal before that was actually my staple as well. So I would always just do a little bit of oatmeal with a scoop of protein powder, as well as some berries added on, some seeds, and then I'd put a bit of cinnamon. And to me, those it's just, I look for something simple to put together, great macros, and those are like 2 staples. But past that, there's a lot of other things, right? So even here, we have a recipe guide. So this is something we send to all of our clients, and we have a lot of different things that we incorporate, such as suggested food list, fast food survival guide, like lots of different recipes and different things. And we want to give it to you for free as well. But even I'm looking at one of the things here. It's like high protein blueberry pancakes. So this is basically for 1 serving, 250 calories and 36 grams of protein. The prep takes 5 minutes, cooking time takes 10 minutes, and you add stuff like egg whites, a scoop of protein, half banana, some almond milk, coconut oil. And to me, it's going to be easier to get you to get this guide and you can look it over because we actually have 52, I think maybe 53 high protein recipes. And all you have to do is message us on Instagram, recipe guide, and we'll send this entire thing over. There's some breakfast foods. There's even something that we have, which is an omelet wrap, which takes you a few minutes to put together. And that way it's completely free. You can look through it. You can try a bunch of different recipes. And that's our gift to you for listening, for making it to this point. But yeah, those are some of the staples, and hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say the best breakfast for you is the best one they actually do consistently. And I think you got to really experiment with this. I know some people will say, I don't need breakfast. I don't like it. I'd rather big lunch, big dinner. If that works for you, power to you. If I don't have breakfast, for reference, I like to lift at 9:30. I do notice a big drop in intensity in the gym. I feel like I just don't have that oomph. I got less in my system, less glycogen to get in there and really bring that level of effort I want, and it can cause me to get a little lightheaded. I know some people rush right to the gym when they wake up and they can't lift lightheaded, so they'll do like a protein shake, like 1 scoop of protein and a banana, and that could be a phenomenal breakfast for you as well. Then some others perhaps have a massive breakfast, massive lunch, no dinner. Like, everyone's so unique and you're unique in your own way. So you should experiment by having obviously a high protein breakfast, but experiment with having a lower calorie high protein breakfast and experiment with a higher calorie one. For me, I like to make sure I have enough carbs and fats to satiate me till lunch. And that's how I've structured it. So you could experiment with that food guide as well and see like what foods work best for you in that criteria and really begin to understand what makes the most sense. But for me, I just like what's quick, easy, and consistent. So even these Greek yogurt bowls, I've been doing it, like Kyle said, like probably 3+ years, like, and we've done it across 2 pregnancies even. And it's been like such a staple because instead of the morning, like, oh, what am I going to eat? And like, just going grabbing something quick or bad, and like most breakfast foods unfortunately are just destined to really mess you up. Like even Kyle got a nice croissant like last year in particular, and I think it was like 600 or 800 calories. It's a big croissant, and it's funny how a lot of breakfast foods end up being like pastries. Like a muffin is basically like cake, bagel, like all these things are delicious, and I love having them from time to time, but they're not getting you at a head start for your day. And it's very hard to hit your protein goals, to be within your calories if you're starting with this, and they'll satiate you less as well. So to me, like to not have to put any thought in it, like the real highlight for my morning is my coffee personally anyways. So I really enjoy that. And then when it comes to my meal, I just have this. It's solid. It tastes good. It sits so well in my stomach. It digests nice. It really powers me up for training. So that's where I really do enjoy it. And I like that I can change small things like Kyle had mentioned. But it's good to experiment what makes sense for you. Do you eat in the car? Maybe you should explore smoothies and pre-prepping those and having that ready to go. Do you have more time? Do you like to have less protein in your breakfast more than the rest of the day? Like you can really experiment and see what makes sense, and everyone is so different. But I would try different things, land on what feels best. If you need more variety, maybe plan a couple different options and rotate through them. But I think that was a great question.
That was very well said, because I didn't think about that for my answer, because even the time frame you have, like there's some people I know who can sit down, they slowly eat, they have their coffee, like that's their thing in the morning. They'll read the newspaper or do some articles, whatever they do. Whereas I'm very different. I'm like, give me whatever and I'm good. But like in a perfect world, if I was kind of more patient and like that was my thing, I would love eggs more often. I would love egg whites. I'd love more turkey bacon. Like I'll do that stuff maybe, on occasion, maybe once a week.
Or for a treat on the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And on the weekend's a good option as well, right? But these are things to consider. Like, I think it's so great that Josh brought that up, because a lot of times there will be a black and white answer from others where it's like, this is the best way and like, this is what you should have because it's what I've been doing. But it's like, yeah, we have some suggestions. Yeah, we have some thoughts, and some of our clients do this. And even Coach Jason is up, and he said, I was talking to him yesterday, he loves his protein smoothies because he's like, I just want to jump into work and I don't want to think about it. Like, it's just easy to kind of digest and it's easy to drink, and I can do it at, just while I'm working and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, so well said. Whereas if I were to tell someone else to do that, they might just be like, no, like that's not going to work for me. Even smoothies, for example, I know some people are starving afterwards, whereas I usually feel pretty satiated, but everyone's so unique and so different. So like Josh said, try different things. And as long as it hits your calories and as long as it's a great start with something healthy, like if you grab Pop-Tarts, yeah, you can still probably fit into your calories in the day, but it's going to leave you feeling just super hungry, craving more unhealthy foods. Like that croissant, for example, that one day I remember last year, I'm like, I'm not doing that again. It's like, it was good in the moment, but I'm like, it's just not worth it, you know? So yeah, very great question and awesome answers as well.
And that's why I'm not a big fan of meal plans, because just because something works for me, if you try to emulate it and it's not realistic to your situation, like you don't have the time, ability, or whatnot, it's going to mess you up. Like Kyle said, some people prefer those long, intricate dinners, whereas me, I want to make it quick, have it be ready to go. So these are things to consider. And that's where, like we said, find what makes sense for you. That's where you're going to have the best ability. And on those off days where you do go and have something fun and different, you can absolutely make it work and learn to build around it in the day. And this is why we mentioned like fitness, nutrition, it needs to be consistent. It needs to be sustainable for life, because things happen. You'll go out for breakfast some days, you won't others. So the more you can learn and play with this, and I love Kyle's example too, on the weekend, you can try different things. Like I'll do high protein pancakes, turkey bacon. I'll spend some more time with it, have a really intentional meal, just enjoy that. So it gives you variety and it makes it a lot more sustainable, if you will. So that was a phenomenal question. Now we're going to jump into our third question out of the mailbag, which is, I've heard you guys talk about walking after a meal and how it's good for you. What type of benefits can I expect from it?
Yeah, it's great that this was brought up because it's something that we just recently started doing. Again, especially being here in Florida, it's easier to go for a nice walk. And yesterday we were all talking about it after that meal that we went on. We went for maybe 40-minute walk by the river, and it feels great. So first of all, before like the actual scientific benefits, it's just like, it feels amazing after a meal. Just instead of like what is typical for most people is just you have a meal and you lay down, right? Whereas when you go for a walk, even if it's 10 to 20 minutes, it's going to help you improve your digestion. It's been proven to actually help you with your metabolism and just increase energy levels. And you can just give it a shot. Just try it out, see how you feel. And I think a lot of these things that we incorporate is just about trying it out to see how you feel. Same with the breakfast example. Try it out. How does it feel for you? Does it work? Does it not work? This is something I think will work for most people, but I think you'll start to notice the overall benefits, even if it's, let's say, a placebo of you finish your meal, instead of just curling up and, either going to bed or watching a TV show, just get out there. And I do think the main biggest benefit, especially there's a lot of studies backing it up, is just it helps you with your digestion, which is always a great feeling. And that alone is just, there's incredible benefits when you can improve your digestion from a meal, whether it's a small one or a big one or whatever you do for dinner. But yeah, I recommend everyone trying it out. Even just a few minutes can go a long way. But yeah, anything else?
Yeah, even outside of digestion, like a walk after a meal, I think it's just a great time to enjoy and reflect. And especially after dinner, you get closer to that sunset, twilight type of time, which is always really, really fun and amazing. Just great to get some movement in general and stretch your legs. Like, it's so easy to overlook the power of walking, but in general, there are just numerous benefits. But Kyle hit it on the head there, and we want to thank you for tuning in. It was a fun episode, some great questions. We really do hope you enjoyed it. And once again, if you enjoy our podcast and it adds value to you, it'd mean the world if you could share it with a friend, share it to your story. And even if you only have a couple followers, it's a couple people that'll get the opportunity to hear this content. And if you enjoy it, I'm sure your friends will too. And it helps us grow. It puts a smile on our face. So if you could do that, please share it. Tag us. Our Instagram is @ColossusFit. We'd love to thank you for that, because that really does make our day. And once again, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.